In this section, we're going to learn about our first two derivative rules. The first one is the product rule, and this is what it says. It says d dx, the derivative, of the product of a function f of x and another function g of x is equal to the function of x times g prime, so that's the derivative of g, okay, plus g of x times the derivative of our function f. And I'm going to show you an example, and this is actually one of the easier rules that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and do an example from your book and talk you step by step through this. Okay, so this is example number 2 on page 120, if you want to look at it with me in your books. And if you look here, we do see that this is a product of two different functions. I could look at this as this being the f of x part, and I'm going to label it in green. I'm going to color code all of this for you, okay? And then I've got my second function, which is sine x, which we are going to look at as g of x. So, as I work my way through this, since y is the name of my function, then this d dx becomes dy dx, because that's the name of my function. So I'm going to get this just started here. So this is d dx, and then the name of my function is y. And the nicer way of writing this is dy over dx. Okay? And now we are going to look at my rule and see if we can fill it in as it is needed. So equals. Now the first thing is that I need my f of x part. So f of x looks over here to be 3x squared. And I'm going to keep everything in parentheses just in case. All right, there we go. And the next part being g prime. Now, for the sine of x, I know the derivative of that to be cosine x. That's one of our rules as well. So I'm going to go ahead and write cosine x here. And I am going to run out of room. All right, so then I'm going to write my plus sign. All right, now the next part, it says that I write g of x. Well, that was just sine of x, and I'm going to continue this below, right here. So that's just sine x. And then I'm going to multiply that by f prime. So there's a couple things to look at with our f of x function. I'm going to write it right over here, okay? First of all, we have a coefficient of 3. Anytime you have a coefficient, you can take care of it in the end, but we want to take care of the x squared part. This is where the majority of our derivative rules are going to come into play. So when I take the derivative of x squared, that's when I use my power rule, and I am going to take this 2 and multiply it by the coefficient. That's the first part of my rule. So 2 times 3 is 6. And then I decrease that exponent of 2 by 1, which is 1. So this right here, 6x, is the derivative of 3x squared. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to write that in. So 6x. And the nice thing here, excuse me, is that this is pretty simplified. The only thing that we want to take a look at is to see if maybe they have something in common, maybe something that can be factored out to make it look nicer. Because remember, in mathematics, we want everything to be as simplified as possible, but also to look as nice as possible. So I do see that they have a 3 in common. I can take a 3 out of 3 and a 3 out of 6 and an x out of both terms. So the very first part, 3x squared times the cosine of x, is my first piece. Sine x times 6x is my second piece. So let's practice just in what way I'm supposed to write this. I'm going to go ahead and take up that 3x. So 3x, and I'm going to open up a pair of parentheses. So what would I have to multiply 3x by to get this whole entire first piece? Well, I've got the 3x right there, but I do need another x. So I'm going to go ahead and write x here. And then all I'm doing is multiplying it by the cosine of x. So there. That takes care of the first part. I'm going to write my plus sign. Now, typically, look back over here where it says sine x times 6x. Typically, we write any numbers that we have first, any coefficients, and then everything else behind it. So that's the order that we want to write our answer in. So 3x times what gives me 6x? Well, that's going to be 2. I'm going to write my 2 there. And then I have sine x in the bottom, or at the end. So this is my overall answer, and I need to make sure that I denote what it is equal to, which is dy dx, or if you want, you can label it as y prime. This is Leibniz notation, this is Newton notation, and it doesn't matter which one you use, be able to know how to read them both. So that's how the product rule works.